Hey, it's Ron McLean. Welcome to Hockey Talk on the Rock.
With Laura and Keith.
It's interesting.
So let's back up a second.
He played absolutely out of his mind.
It made no sense to me.
And now, here are your hosts.
Here we go. We are back doing Hockey Talk on the Rock, and we are excited to talk today because there's finally some big news, and it even calls for once in a lifetime sound drop. So let me hit the button here, and I have a slow computer, so you know.
It's okay.
Yes, we are celebrating the best of times. My computer totally sucks, but we're celebrating because finally it's the end of an era, and we've been wanting Big Jim out forever, and more than Big Jim left. So, you know, take it from here. Give the people what they want.
All right, so yeah, Sunday evening, I was playing hockey and I came out to a text message from our friend who said that, you know, Travis Green was out, and I was immediately very excited because, I mean, if you want to go back to Saturday night during the Canucks game, I was not very ecstatic about that game. I hardly watched it. I thought it was going to be 6-1 for Pittsburgh. It ended up being 4-1 or whatever. So, but it was just the same thing. And I thought, okay, they're not going to change anything, whatever. So when I got that text that Green was out, I was excited, but I said it right away. Well, what does that mean for Benning? And like, it better not just end with Green. And then by the time I'd finished driving back from hockey, the news broke that Benning was also out, and I was so happy. I don't remember the last time I've been this happy, honestly, about anything. I woke up multiple times in the night, and I was just like, I am happy about something, and I don't know what it is. So, I mean, it feels like for the first time in 8 years, there's some sort of direction maybe with the team, although we don't know what it is yet, but it feels like there's gonna be a direction. And then, I mean, I like the Boudreau hiring. I've always quite liked Boudreau. I know some people are anti-Boudreau because of the fact that he hasn't won a cup and he's had some pretty good teams, but he has always consistently got the most out of his offensive stars. And so I think it's a smart move for the Aquilinis to bring him in for the year and a half or whatever it is to see kind of what the stars are on this team, these young guys. Like, is Pettersson what he's shown this year, or is he what he showed in the first year and a half, 2 years of his career? What is Brock Besser? I mean, Besser to me was like the player that was the most noticeably different last night. I know it's one game, but it just looked like he had confidence when he was skating. It was so refreshing to see. And then, yeah, that gets me to the point of last night's game was actually fun. It was actually fun to watch. I don't remember the last time I can say that about a Canucks game. So, and it felt like, again, you know, they've probably dug themselves into too big a hole for this year, and we all know that, and that's fine. But if you just show some effort, you show some resiliency and some fight, that's really all we want. And I am excited about, you know, Boudreau saying that he was going to try and bring in a harder forecheck, even though the Canucks aren't really that team, because it did work for him in Minnesota where he didn't really have that style of team either. So it'll be interesting to see the systems he brings when he really places in his ideas. Then obviously the GM thing. Right now there's the interim tag on Stan Smyle, and I really liked how he spoke at his press conference. I just thought, again, after 8 years of Jim Benning kind of babbling around, even the press conference was better with, I know he's just the interim, but it felt legit. Anyway, so there's going to be a group of them all working together basically as interim GM, but it'll be interesting to see who they hire, all that. But all in all, just positive and happiness, which is a very rare experience for this Canucks fan right now.
Yeah, I was just saying, I totally agree with you, and it's super refreshing to hear what the players have had to say in their interviews since the hire and since the one game. with Boudreau, like it really says to me that Green lost the room, right? Like it seems like Green lost the group. And as you know better than probably anybody, I've kind of been championing for Boudreau for quite a while now. And I understand, the pushback about how he's never won a game 7 or a cup or all these things. But the big point for me was, and still is like he's been extremely successful at getting a team to have a winning record in the regular season. And at this point, I don't think Canucks fans should be like championing for, winning series in the playoffs. They need to have a good regular season and make the playoffs before we can even start having that conversation. And realistically, if you think about it, when they got into the bubble the one year, like they were slumping pretty hard before the break.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I remember correctly, like they weren't even in a playoff spot, but it was because of the points percentage that they actually got in. And I mean, they brought in extra teams for the play-in rounds. So they would have had that opportunity anyway. But it would be interesting in the time machine multiverse type thing to be able to see what would have really happened that year if they played out the whole season. And it could have been very likely that Benning's team only made the playoffs once in 2015 out of all those years. So, we'll just see. And I mean, like you said, it's a good move, I think, to just have him in place for the same amount of time that Green was going to be in place. And it gives the new GM and president and whoever the new brain trust is going to be some time to judge the team with Boudreau at the helm and possibly extend him or, find their own guy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, a little bit more about the whole bubble thing. Like, I'm positive they would have missed the playoffs if it had continued. But even the success they had in the bubble, which I think has been what the Canucks and Canucks fans have really kind of hung their hat on over the past 2 years, I don't know how legit it was. And I say that I loved watching the run. I thought it was really fun, but I think it was very obvious that, St. Louis was checked out. They didn't really care. They'd won their cup the year before. And I don't know, like, it just feels to me like how legit that success was, I don't know. Which also makes the Benning, like that was Benning's kind of crowning moment as the GM, right?
Yeah.
I know there's been a few podcasts I've been listening to that have been playing like the Benning greatest hits, and when you hear them back in terms of trades and free agent signings, it's painful. And again, it lasted for way too long. So I think we're all in the right to be celebrating right now, and we'll see what happens. And it's all you can ask for.
It's all you can ask for. And I mean, thank God, like you said with the Stan Smyle press conference, like we don't have to have the awful sound bites and listening to Big Jim with this typical, starting every sentence, wow, and I really think this, and day by day, like it was just a feeding frenzy for anybody who wanted to jump on him because he just kind of sounded like an idiot constantly. So
yeah,
it'll be nice to see where they go. I mean, I think they're going to probably take a while, and they might not even, do anything till the off season realistically. But
it sounds like they're going to take their time, and that's my only complaint that I'm going to say right now is that like 5 weeks ago or whatever, when they lost to Vegas in that 7-1 game, that was when, for me personally, I was like, okay, I'm checked out. Like, I don't care. And I'm not wearing, this was my thing. I'm like, I'm not wearing anything Canuck related until they make a move. They have to do something. And then all this news broke that, they want to take their time and make sure they're not making a stupid move and that they're going to, do the right thing. But I really feel like this move could have been made 5 weeks ago.
For sure.
I don't really get the time. So that's my only complaint, but I'm not going to focus too much on it right now.
Yeah, and like you say, it's pretty good chance that the playoffs is out of reach for the year. You never know. Stranger things have happened. But I was saying to a buddy at For Hockey last night, I missed the game, so I mean you'll have to recap it for me. But I was saying, if Boudreau can come in and salvage the season from Besser and Pedersen's perspectives, that's the win right there.
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree. But yeah, I think that part of the reason why these changes happened at this time is because of, your other boys in Philadelphia, which we can, which we can get into. They also let Alain Vigneault go the next day. And there's rumors that they were also interested in Boudreau. So the Canucks or Aquilini kind of jumped on it before another team could get in there, essentially.
I hadn't heard that one, but I mean, like we talked about, I think last talk cast or whatever we call this, that you know, something was going to give in Philly if they didn't turn around, and it was either going to be like trading Giroux or firing the coach. And I mean, yeah, what have they lost now? 9 in a row? Like it's crazy, and super disappointing. So I mean, I feel like Giroux could get traded. I don't know about the Ottawa thing, because why would he go there? Why would they trade for him when he has, you know, he's on expiring contract? Like I can see him maybe signing there for a new contract, but I feel like that it would be a very real possibility they rent him out to a contender. And man, yeah, all I've heard about Philly is they're saying we don't know why it's happened yet, but Rick Tocchet's probably going to be the next coach.
Yeah. I feel like that makes sense for Philly, but yeah, for the style of play. But it'll be interesting to see there if there's also a change in the GM in the off season, because I'm not sure, like, again, how much change is going to happen. Kind of the stuff I was listening to about Philly is people are wondering about, like, yeah, the makeup. It's very similar to the Canucks, right? Like about the makeup of the team. And it is funny because, again, in that COVID year, right before the shutdown, right, the Flyers were like first in the league and by far the hottest team in the league. And then since then, it's not been great.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I mean, Chuck Fletcher hasn't been around for that long, but he definitely, I don't know if you could say pushed all the chips into the middle this offseason, but he made some big moves to try and transform the roster, especially on the blue line that we've talked about. And I mean, like I talked about last time, like Ryan Ellis was really supposed to be that big changing factor.
Yeah, and he's not played.
So I don't know how much of a leash that would get him, but man, yeah, they're just bleeding goals and they can't score. I mean, they got 5 in their first night without Vigneault, but they let in 7, so that doesn't matter too much. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's very frustrating for both our fan bases this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to see kind of the parallels between the two teams too, because again, I mean, I'm gonna say 2 positive things right now. So the first one that's parallel between the two is like the goalies both played quite well. So Demko and Hart have both been good, but the team around them is just awful. And the second thing that's specific to the Canucks that I don't think has actually gotten enough attention, and it's just because of how awful the Canucks have been, but I really do think that Quinn Hughes has had a major bounce back year, and not just in terms of points. I think defensively he's been quite a lot better too, and I'm saying that on the Canucks, so again, take it with a grain of salt, but I do think he's been a steady positive that people have kind of not noticed. So that's the other person that with Boudreau I'm very excited to see, because I know, like, in Washington when Boudreau had Mike Green, like, he was just an absolute scoring machine. So it'll be interesting to see if he has even more of that effect on Quinn Hughes. Anyway.
Yeah, so a couple questions about last night's game, but mainly the power play from, I watched a quick little recap highlights or whatever. Was Pettersson not on the first unit? Like, I felt like I saw Pearson was on the first unit with like Miller and Besser and Horvat, and
so that was the second unit.
Okay.
And then Pettersson was technically on the first. And I mean, Pettersson didn't really I don't think he got a point, did he? He might have had his assist. He didn't really factor into the scoring, but I did actually think that he looked noticeably better too, just in terms of skating with the puck. It seemed like he had more confidence, and I know he messed up that penalty shot, but yeah.
Okay.
It sounds to me like Boudreau is probably gonna give Pettersson playing time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess putting him on the penalty kill too, from what I heard on the radio today, his teammates were talking about that, kind of helped him with his confidence and stuff like that. So it's kind of one thing we've been talking about all year is where's his confidence and why is he playing like this and all that. So a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the other thing with Pedersen is, does anyone know how healed he is from his wrist injury?
Right.
Because I don't know, like, again, it is a wrist, which if you're a shooter, that is a big deal.
And we kind of saw this with Besser a couple years ago too.
Yeah, but I find it so hard to believe that he went from being this like dominant force to nothing. And again, it would be one thing if it was like for a few games that he scored a bunch of goals and then he kind of fizzled out. But it was, a solid year and a half, 2 years kind of thing where he was the best player on the Canucks, and now he looks just kind of like a ghost skating around out there. So it's hard to believe that it's the same person. And if it is all confidence or if it's half confidence, half injury, I don't know. The only thing for me that I would be nervous about with Pedersen on the penalty kill specifically would be him blocking shots, because
Right.
I just don't really see why why he should be doing that if he's going to be putting himself at risk for getting more injured, kind of thing.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. And it was also nice to see Horvat back on the penalty kill too, because again, I feel like if Horvat is going to be the player that, and we talked about this last week, if he's going to be that second line center, it's almost like he has to do it.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to see how that goes, and hopefully it's positive.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they killed a couple penalties.
I know. Just a crazy night in terms of like how everything went as good as it possibly could have gone, minus like Pedersen scoring a hat trick or something.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they took on a team who was feeling pretty good, I guess, after putting it to Edmonton on the weekend. So,
Yeah. Again, LA has been playing well, so props. Again, it's not like those last two wins last week against Ottawa and Montreal where it's like, okay, someone had to win those games and those two teams are awful kind of thing. But this one felt good. We'll see. Tomorrow's Boston, and so that'll be interesting.
So is Marchand still out with his
Coming
suspension?
back tomorrow.
Back tomorrow, right? Of course he is.
Fittingly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, the only other thing I wanted to quickly touch on was, can we talk about Ovechkin's season? Like, it's unreal. Like, I was looking at the stats or whatever, and he's like, what, 2 points behind McDavid right now or something like that?
So yeah, I honestly think if he keeps up this pace, like Ovechkin has to win the Hart, right?
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, and he's 36. This has been like statistically his best season so far. It's just ridiculous. He doesn't have Backstrom. Backstrom's still out. Like, there's so many factors that should be going against him. I'm still not that sold on how good of a team Washington actually is, but Ovechkin just seems to be like willing them to victory.
Well, it's funny you say that because they just moved into first in the
I know.
league,
I know.
which is crazy because, like you say, they don't even have Backstrom right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so many stats are flying around too. Like, he's only got 5 of his goals or something with the slap shot or whatever it is.
Yeah,
like, he's got more wrist shot goals than he's ever had in a season already. And like the amount of primary assists that he's getting is like, way more on pace than he's ever had. Like, it's insane to see him doing things in such a different way to be so productive.
Yeah. And again, to change it up at his age, right? Like, if you saw him do this when he was 25 or something after his first few years in the season, I'd be like, yeah, he's adapting. He's, learning how to score in different ways or get points in different ways. But he has, for most of his career, really been, I don't want to say a one-trick pony because I feel like that's insulting to him, but he's relied heavily on that slap shot from his spot. And that in itself is impressive because everyone knows it's coming, but they can't seem to stop it. But this year, I don't know why. it would be interesting to ask him what he thinks as to why he's scoring from so many different places. And yeah, on the wrist shot, it's just been crazy.
And I mean, the other one too is like they haven't had TJ Oshie for most of the season, so like, I get, like it's not like all their depth guys are scoring 5-10 goals already. It seems like the defense is playing well, the goalies are playing well, and him and Carlson and Kuznetsov are just taking over, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyways,
it'll be crazy to see. Yeah, we'll have to do in the next couple weeks here. I guess once they get to around 40 games played, we'll have to do a mid-season award show because there are some interesting ones that I wanted to talk about, and that was one of them that I've been thinking about for a while. Is Obi with the heart. Yeah, the other thing that I have, and I feel like I know what your opinion is going to be on this, is the Jack Hughes extension.
Oh, crazy, right?
Yeah. Again,
I mean, like when that happened and it like came out with the comparables of guys who got big contracts and compared like the amount of games played.
Yeah.
It was like jaw dropping. Like I understand first overall, he's got a lot of potential and family good, blah blah blah. It was like holy smokes, like that. I feel like they just jumped the gun a little bit there. He hasn't even come back from his injury yet.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't understand the rush because I think he's back now, but like you could have waited for him to play out the rest of the season and seen what his year was like. Because yeah, he played very well in like the 3 games he played this year, but that's 3 games. And
totally,
like how much more do you think he'd be asking for if he does continue? Let's say he continues on a point a game pace for 1 year. Like how much more leverage does that actually give you when you've only played 3 years in the league and you've been injured for half of it?
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
it's a big risk for them for sure.
And yeah, like some people were saying, okay, if it pays out, it's gonna look really good. Like it's gonna be kind of like McKinnon level in like 5 years or whatever. But again, it is a big risk, and he is small, which is the thing with both those Hughes boys, right? Like Quinn and him. I don't know. We'll see. But it looks crazy on paper, and I feel like they could have just waited and seen what the summer brought, kind of thing, for that deal. But maybe they're afraid of an offer sheet. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if I was in their position, I would have waited probably to like the 60 game mark and got bigger sample size of the season at least. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe his agent was like, talking with them quite a bit about how, disgruntled his brother was with how his process went and, like not wanting to do that. Let's do this now. And I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically it, I think.
That's basically it. The beginning of a new era. And like you say, the Canucks play again tomorrow against Boston, and they got a couple other tough matchups after that. I think Carolina's coming up too, and
Winnipeg too.
Winnipeg as well. So yeah, we'll see how they do, and hopefully the Bruce era continues on the roll. And high hopes. That's all I can say.
Yeah, agreed.
And I really hope the Flyers get a new coach soon because I really don't like Mike Yeo being the coach.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy with that one.
Considering he was like in charge of the defense and they've been so bad defensively, it was kind of surprising that he made it, like yeah. I understand Vigneault lost the team and lost the room, and Therrien was like the power play guy and their power play stinks. But yeah, the defense has been atrocious. So I don't know. The only defense I've read is like, well, Yeo was, the defensive coach, but he was doing it to Vigneault's system. So now he can change the system to his way. And I don't know. I don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff with Mike Yeo too, right? Like just in terms of past years in the NHL, when he was with St. Louis, he was the coach they fired before they went on that run. And he had like the famous quote about like, yeah, if we lose one more game, I think I'm out of here or something. And I don't know. Just in general, not a great track record as a head coach. He's been decent in locations as an assistant coach, but I don't really think he is he's a NHL head coach for long.
Well, hopefully next time we talk, the Rick Talker era has begun in Philly or something, maybe something better if there is that.
For sure.
Alrighty. Well, I think that was a good, quick episode to cover the big news, the giant news that has like put the city of Vancouver into giant elation and relief. So, we'll do this again sometime soon. And this has been Laura and Keith doing Hockey Talk on the Rock.
Woo!